Okay, I have the honor of introducing our next speaker. Tim Cowden is with us here today. Thank you so much for joining us. Many in the room have heard Tim speak before and are equally as excited as I am to hear what he has to share with us today. Tim is the president and CEO of the Kansas City Area Development Council. Under Tim's leadership, the council is consistently ranked as one of the leading regional economic development groups in the country. And through the last 5 years, the council has brought over $9.5 billion in new capital investment to the Kansas City region and over 15,000 jobs to the area. Tim himself has been recognized in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Forbes, Market Watch, Industry Week, and the Washington Post. So he is a big deal, and we are very, very grateful for you carving out some time for us this morning, Tim. We're excited to hear what you have to say, share about Kansas City, the World Cup, and all sorts of fun stuff.
That's great. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. We're going to need a little more energy in here. Can I get a little bit more energy? There we go. I remember this guy. I remember him from last year. He's going to bring it. Okay. What I want to do is, I'm not going to kill you by PowerPoint. I promise. But I do have a few slides that I want to go through. And I've always found, if you recall from last year, I said the same thing. If we could open it up for dialogue, questions and answers, suggestions, criticism, whatever, it's all open, okay? I'm good with that. One question, though, from me before I get going. Are there any media members in here? Any media? That's great for you, because I can be unplugged now. But I will try to be as candid as I can, and really, let's try to make this as engaging and interactive as you all want it to be. Because I've got all these empty chairs right here in the middle and all you in the back, but that's okay. Here we go. This organization, the Kansas City Area Development Council, that I am privileged to lead, and I've been CEO now for over a decade. I see Maria O'Dell out there. She's been on my board and very active with the organization for a number of years, and many of you in this room. I look out at this room and I say, my organization's been around for 50 years this year. We've got a great team, a very deep bench that I like to say of talent. Many of those on the team you all know and work with. But I look out, and this is not at all to be gratuitous, you are an extension of my sales team. Because often when people are coming in from out of the market, we don't even know who they are, but you are that first point of contact. You're that tip of the spear with so many people who are considering a relocation to Kansas City for maybe starting something new in their life or their career or what have you. So I want to thank you for what you do, and always look at KCADC as an extension of your team. So if you need anything as it relates to research or just ideas, please reach out. So very proud of the organization. And in fact, we are the sales and marketing team for that region. And that's the real operative word, that if there's anything, maybe 2 or 3 things that you take from me today. When I say Kansas City, I'm not talking about Kansas City, Missouri specifically. I'm not just talking about Johnson County. It's truly regional. Why is the region important? Because our customers, your customers from outside the market, they don't know where the lines are. They may feel like they understand the lines, but you all know better than I how confusing and nuanced and complex the Kansas City region can be. How many times a day, like me, do you go back and forth across the state line? You don't even think about it. This is one market, and this is how our clients, and let me define our clients are those companies, and oftentimes their representatives, we call them location advisors, maybe in today's parlance it's location influencers, who advise them where they should relocate their businesses. And it's not so much a selection process, it's an elimination process. Similar to when you all are showing someone a house. You're not really going out to select a house, you're really eliminating 3, 4, 5 houses until you get one that works. We're in the same business. these influencers on behalf of the C-suite that's evaluating markets could go to a number of different places. I'm going to give you some examples here momentarily. But they're really looking to eliminate a market, and then you are the last one standing. I'll get more into that in a little bit. But that's our product. That's what we take to a very competitive marketplace every day. And think about it. You all are well-traveled. You compete with different markets, different realtors in different places. We know in this country that there are a lot of wonderful places to live and do business. And I've said this before, and my apologies if I said it last year. But when I travel with my wife or with my kids, I think, I'll role play a little bit, I'm in Dallas. I see why really people love Dallas. Or you go to Nashville, it's an exciting place. On and on and on. My point is, there are a lot of wonderful places to live and do business in this country. Kansas City's brand and what we're doing, what we've experienced, and I'll get into that a little bit more, is really rising. And we know what a wonderful place this is. Like you probably thought this, said it to your colleagues, you gotta get people here. Because when you get people here, we like to say they experience an epiphany of the visit. How many times have you had a client in and you pick them up at our beautiful new airport terminal now, right? My apologies for all of you who love the old one. It's gone. When you bring them in and you're taking them, downtown or out here, or wherever you are, and they might say to you, I had no idea. I had no idea that Kansas City was this. I didn't realize it was so beautiful. We have terrain, we have hills, we have a cosmopolitan city and region, and all these great places to live and schools and all of that, which again, you know better than I do. But you gotta get people here. And we're gonna have hundreds of thousands of people, literally, coming here for the first time in about 90 days for the World Cup. And again, I'm gonna get into that. I'll blow through this next couple really quick. What is KCADC and how do we work with all these other organizations that you work with yourself? The chambers, the Kansas City Chamber, you hear about maybe the Civic Council or MARC, KCADC, all these acronyms, the EDC of Kansas City, Missouri, and all this. And you go, what does it really matter? What do they do? And aren't they all one, or how does it all work? If you look at that from a regional standpoint, if the Kansas City region, again, and it is a product, my vertical, when I use I or my, those pronouns today, I'm talking about KCADC, my team. I'm really the sales and marketing vertical for that footprint, that big geography, 18 counties in both states. Then you have the Kansas City Chamber, and you could sub in the Overland Park Chamber or Leawood or Liberty, doesn't matter. They're really responsible for part of that regional tapestry of organizations. They're really responsible for product development, making our place better and more attractive, whether that's schools or parks or whatever it might be, about product development. Or they're focused on small business and making this a more attractive environment, platform from which to grow. And every one of you in here is your own business. I understand that. I'm talking to you. And you know what a challenge that can be. But that's what we try to do at the chamber level. When you think about the planning organizations, Civic Council, you might not know about the Civic Council, but from a regional perspective, their verticals, almost like R&D. Like any company has an organization or a division, bigger companies, but you too, you're just doing it all yourself. Thinking about what can I do today to make my business, in this case, the region, more competitive 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So this is an example of that very R&D function. when you think about my organization, and why wouldn't my organization be complex and nuanced? Because we are probably in the most complex region in the country with the 2 states, and about 50-50 in terms of GDP generation. So in my organization, got a vertical that's focused on advanced manufacturing, logistics, that's SmartPort. You all know this. This is the animal health epicenter for the globe. Companies that are here, the whole industry started up here generations and generations ago. And for those generations, up until about 20 years ago, we did nothing with it. Companies were here, but we never took that to market. We've done that, and that came out of work that was done 25 years ago to identify that. Global design, you all know as well as I do, we have the greatest sports architecture firms in the world, headquartered right here. So you go back, I believe it is, Maria, the last 8 Olympiads, 7 of the 8, I think this is right, the Olympic stadiums were designed by someone at a firm based in Kansas City. That's really amazing and something to be really proud of. And our organization brought in global designs led by a lady on our team named Ashley McDonald, doing great work and more that will be coming out of that. And then Team KC, it's all about talent. How can we make Kansas City more attractive and really an additive to the big companies around here, the big engineering firms like Burns & Mac or Black & Veatch, go on and on. Because in the past, I've been around a long time at KCAC, 28 years. I remember companies coming to us and saying, hey, help us sell our company to a candidate that we're trying to bring in from LA or New York, Chicago, you fill in the blank. Because at that point, Kansas City was really almost like a bit of an albatross to them. They didn't know how to sell it. So we created an initiative that's led by Danielle Hilton on our team, and she does a fantastic job. And last week, Maria was there. We had our big Team KC training camp. It's tremendous what is happening underneath that holding company structure. Now, I'm going to take a little drink of water, and I'm going to show you a hype video. And you all are going to get really excited now about hype video, right? Okay, all right.
Harmony and hustle. This is Kansas City, coming together in unexpected symphony. Like nowhere else, a solid foundation, heartbeat of the nation, humble and real. Late nights meet early mornings, and champions emerge without warning, designing the future, raising steel beams, reaching new heights and chasing our dreams. Experience it all, from gourmet to street, wellness, indulgence, style, and beat. Quiet confidence, creative flow. The legacy of yesterday propels tomorrow. Every moment a celebration, big and small. What we've built is yours. We welcome them all. A crossroads of talent, ingenuity, and art. See for yourself. Harmony, hustle, and heart.
So a lot of these videos that we have are out on the internet, Vimeo page, so they're all accessible to you. If you have any trouble getting those or access to them, just let me know. Anyone recognize that voice? No? Who's that?
Mayor Lucas.
No, not Mayor Lucas. One more, I can't, my hearing's wrong. Sean Edwards, somebody say Sean?
Bob Kendrick.
No, not Bob. Sean Edwards, Fox 4 movie critic. You all know Sean? He's great. He's been very active and engaged with our organization for some time. So he's a great dude. Let's just go in real quick to market trends. Now I'm going to focus a little bit on the organization and deals that we're seeing. So you look at 75 new projects, 59 project site visits, that was really heavy. And if you see the types of deals that we're seeing, and again, Kansas City, from an economic standpoint, is so reflective of the U.S. economy. If you put the pie chart of the makeup of the United States economy right next to Kansas City's economy, it's so close. So we're seeing, like in America right now, seeing a lot of manufacturing, obviously a lot of data centers and things like that. So we're in the middle of that. I'll talk in a little bit about, well, here's some of the project types that we're into that I just mentioned. But I'll talk about some of the deals that we've been able to secure. Industrial, yes, huge right now. You think about Panasonic, okay? And Panasonic, we were able to secure that, and I say we. The reason that we're able to get that done is that everyone, all the entities, the state of Kansas, DeSoto, Johnson County, because obviously Panasonic's out off K10 in DeSoto, all working together to bring that here. Because when you think about manufacturing, logistics, and distribution, some big opportunities. In that Panasonic plant, eventually, and there's going to be ups and downs with that, with the EV market, this, that, and the other. But eventually, they'll have several thousand jobs. And they've already invested nearly $4 billion in that plant. And when you think about Panasonic itself, and here's some of the successes and where they've been located over the course of the last couple of years, when you think about Panasonic, why we put so much into that, why we put so much effort and energy into Panasonic is that brand. That Panasonic brand has been around for generations and generations. And at that time, when that decision was being made in 21 and 22, the EV market was really hot. And you all followed this. A lot of startup EV companies that were really hot at the time. And we could have gone after those. Canoo, I don't know if you ever heard of Canoo, they have little vans. They announced a big plant down in Oklahoma. We didn't go really that hard for Canoo, and I'm glad we didn't, because they're gone. They didn't make it. So we put all this energy and effort into Panasonic because we felt, you don't ever really know, felt like, hey, they're going to be able to ride the waves up and down, they're going to be consistent, and that's exactly what will happen. So you think about successes in the origin, Europe, most of them still domestic, Asia, and there'll be more of those coming. I'll get into that. And here are just some of the brands that have located new opportunities, new investment, creating new jobs in our region, that 18 county footprint that was there before, in our marketplace. So I've talked about Panasonic. Let's jump over to Fiserv. Okay? Everybody aware of Fiserv, that I say that name? It's a big fintech company. And last year, about 10 months ago, they announced a major fintech hub that was going to be located in Overland Park on the Asteria campus, the former T-Mobile Sprint campus. Now, there's been a lot of ups and downs in the economy just in the last year. And they've committed to creating over time 2,000 fintech jobs, financial technology jobs, tech jobs. The average wage of these jobs, $120K. These are exactly the types of jobs that we want to bring and create in our region. Now, they've had some hiccups over that time, but I want to tell you, they are going to do their deal here. We just met with their executives a couple of weeks ago. They came in to tell us that. It's going to be a little bit slower. But you all are going to be, hopefully, the recipients of some really good things happening as people look to move, as that company consolidates different operations across the United States here. But let me tell you a little story, because I can talk about, stats and those in and out my ears, probably yours too. That shouldn't be here. Fiserv had no intention of coming to Kansas City. If you'll indulge me, I'll give you some background on that. And I try to share this where I think it's appropriate. So again, I know you guys are big X or Twitter people, so try not to tweet me, all right? About a year and a half ago, their executives, just a handful of them, came in. They stayed over at the Inn at Meadowbrook. And first connection that we had with them. And they were basically here evaluating Kansas City. It was just on the Kansas side. Because the consultant, I mentioned these location influencers earlier, the consultant who advised Panasonic on where they were going to end up, obviously they're here. Panasonic had as finalists multiple states, but got down to 3 markets: Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Tulsa area. Tulsa was way ahead of us. Fort Worth and Kansas City were about the same. But we had such a great experience, or created such a great experience for Panasonic and that consultant, that he insisted to the Fiserv leadership that they needed to look at Kansas City. They didn't want to be here. You ever walk into a room or you're engaged with somebody and they say, and you just know they don't want to be there. When I sat down on the patio at the Inn at Meadowbrook, this guy, New Yorker, I love New Yorkers, they can be pretty arrogant, right? He didn't want to be here. They had already in their mind decided they were going to Atlanta, Dallas, or Nashville. And I hate all those places. Maybe I'm a little jealous. But Kansas City is never in those conversations. Very rarely. So we started, we started as an afterthought. We were a courtesy. So we went from there all the way over the course of a number of months and engagements. And every time you have a chance to create an experience just like you do. The best of you out here, and I'm going to say all of you are the best, but how do you really secure something with your client, with your customer? I know how good Maria is and the Odell group. So how do you create that experience? That's what we did. We, as a big team, all working together. So we went from an afterthought to, I remember this vividly, last opening day. I'm driving out to the Royals game. And I looked at my phone, which I shouldn't have because I was driving, and I had a text from that New Yorker. He said, "Are you available in about an hour for a call?" And I was on the call, Lieutenant Governor, some other people, a few of us. He got on that call and he said, "Beautiful." He said, "We're coming to Kansas City." And then over the course of the next 2 months, there were ups and downs. They tried to get the lease done and this, that, and the other. But they were here. Then he later told us that the CEO of Fiserv, and this guy, Ryan is his name, and others were getting calls from people like me in Nashville and Atlanta and markets where Fiserv has a big presence. governors of states where Fiserv has a big presence. And they saw the news that Kansas City, Fiserv, and they called and said, what did they do and what did we do wrong? They're like, you're going to Kansas City? Or you hear this, Kansas? And this is what Fiserv said. And I got the text, I'll always have the text. They said to that group of people who called, said, when you treat Fiserv as a priority, as did Kansas and the Kansas City team, we'll consider you for any future growth. But until then, this is why you made that decision. So when you can make that same impact with your clients who buy a big home or a small home, it doesn't matter. You know what that feeling's like. It's the same thing, except we're talking this region. Now, you talk about disrupting a lot of our competition, which I love to do. How has Kansas City disrupted the world with the World Cup? The smallest by far of 16 markets across North America that will play host to the World Cup in now, 98 days, I think I saw this morning. And 3 of the top 8 clubs, countries, are going to base their operations in Kansas City for the duration of the World Cup. That's crazy good. Argentina, England, the Dutch, and then you throw in Algeria for good measure and Lawrence. And all those fans, and I know what's happened in the world, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Those fans are going to be here with you, with me. You're going to see them out and about. And, our superpower as a region is you. It's us. And I'm going to challenge you, this is a really hard challenge for you to do it anyway. When you see these people here, and they're floating around and they're looking around, because I went to Qatar 4 years ago for the World Cup. And I was looking at windmills and gazing, breaking my neck and everything. And those people there were super nice. I didn't look like a local. And they would come up and say, how you doing? That's what we got to do when they're all here. But this is the match, these are the qualifying matches. And what my organization is doing is we're hosting the top shelf, top tier consultants that we work with, that advise Panasonic and Pfizer and on and on. We're hosting them. And we're using this as a great way to create this experience. Not selling them like we've got them coming in for some sort of timeshare presentation. You ever been to a timeshare presentation? I'm going to go to the Cayman Islands or something and I'm locked into a room. We're not doing that. We're going to balance the work with the fun, but we'll let you all, meaning you as the region, do the talking. And I'm so jazzed about it. Conceptually, what we've created, and I know I've called out Maria, Jeff knows this too, others in this room. My apologies if there are a few of you I haven't seen. You all know what a great team is at KCBC. They can cover up for a lot of my flaws, man. But my CMO came into me, 14, 15 months ago, and said, we've got to do something and create a venue to capture this experience, because people are going to be here who we want coming here. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people like us that will be here just for the games, but there's executives, business owners that have never been to Kansas City before. So he had this concept of creating something called KC House. If you're watching the Olympics a couple of weeks ago, had the USA House, or the Nike House, or the Adidas House, or whatever. So we've created the KC House. Now, after we got into it, we were going to do it ourselves. We're pretty entrepreneurial. But we got into it, and I said, man, I don't know if we can come up with all this cash that we're going to need So we work shoulder to shoulder with the World Cup organizing group. Pam Kramer, you know Pam, and Tracy Welpley, and all. We told them about this. They loved it. So we gifted the whole concept to them. So we're with them. Jonathan is involved in helping them put all this together. I'm involved with our team. But this is going to be a safe harbor, a high-end experience being designed by Populous. You know, Agio from an event standpoint. This is all down on the plaza. You know the old Mark Shell space, way back. Some of you that, like me, that have been around for a while. Okay, work there, okay. Forever 21 is most recent. Some of the younger folks in here, or girls, kids. That's where it is. And it will be open as a place where we're going to use to gather. And I hope that it's a sea of chaos in Kansas City. People out and about, it's got to be wow. They can come in here and what they experience. I consider it like a Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton type experience. You come in and it's gonna be super cool. Now, that's my old mug. I'm open for any questions, challenges, suggestions, and you gotta give me something. Thank you very much.
I get a lot of clients talking about wanting to do Airbnb on their house that they live in or buy something to do that. How much housing demand is really needed minus the hotels and everything else?
You know what, I really can't give you a good answer other than just my guesstimate. I believe there's gonna be some real demand for it. Let me give you an example. I didn't really address your question, but it's a bit of an anecdote that's tied to it. I had dinner about 3 weeks ago with the Consul General based in Chicago for Argentina. That's the day that we had announced that Argentina was going to have a base camp here. So we went to dinner, just a few of us with him. Just a great guy. And we asked him, we said, how many people from Argentina are going to come here? And he said, oh, there's going to be a lot. Kathy Nelson, who I was up here last year with, she was just down in Argentina. I saw her over the weekend. She said people are just really stoked to come to not just North America, but to come to Kansas City. And I'll get back to that, but if you think about it, Kansas City, of all the markets that are hosting, New York, Seattle, Atlanta, you know, they host Super Bowls. You know, they're used to this stuff. This is a really, I mean, we're a big market, but this is super big for us, and we're embracing it. So we are the most exotic, if you think about it, of all the markets that are being considered, because Europeans are, you know, from South America, where do they go? They go to Miami, or they go to New York, they go to Chicago, which is city even hosting, and they're ticked about that, but we are. But they're going to look at us as like the middle of the United States, Route 66, you know, all of it. So we're going to see, I believe, a lot. But this guy, the Consul General, said, you know what? These Argentine fans will just come up. They'll find their way to Kansas City. They're going to follow their team around North America. Argentina has a match, I think it's on June the 16th here against Algeria. They're going to be here, and they might just show up because they're going to fly to, let's just say, Miami. They're going to make their way to Kansas City. And I don't want to, this is him saying this, so it's, keep it in context. They might just go and they don't have a place to stay. They might buy a tent at Shields and put it up in the park. You never know that these people are crazed when it comes to soccer or football. So that is, I believe there will be a real demand for it. Each community has different things that they're approving or different guidelines. I'd encourage you to follow that. People right behind us, I live over not far from here, and they're thinking about doing it. And my wife mentioned it to me, and I said, no chance. But that's something that we're really excited about. How about other questions? I can help you get to somebody if you like. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thanks for being here this morning. Where do you see the next 10 years of economic growth in Kansas City happening geographically? And what infrastructure or development do you see happening with that?
Okay, great question. So over the next 10 years, if you didn't hear her, she asked, where do I think most of the economic activity is going to occur geographically? And what was the second part of that?
And what infrastructure?
And what infrastructure needs to happen to support that? You know, I grew up in Oklahoma. I grew up in Oklahoma City. And if you know Oklahoma City, or maybe Tulsa is even a better example, it's fairly close, and you might know that market. A lot of Tulsa moved south. So when you think about where everything's happening in that market, it's like one big area, but it's like one direction. I think one of the real beauties and benefits of this market is that you have growth in every direction. I could see, you could do the same thing. You could make a case, I could make a case for Lee Summit. I was just in Lee Summit, picked my wife up off the train last week. I mean, I'm over there quite a bit, but that is a cool place. Much different downtown Lee Summit, and it's everything that's happening. It's fantastic. So I can make a really cool case for Lee Summit of the southeastern and eastern Jack. I was in Odessa not so long ago. Way out, you know, I-70, and there's so much cool happening there. I can go all the way around. K10, you know, with Panasonic and other things that are occurring there to Lawrence. Infrastructure is being built to support that along K10 and the feeder roads. And again, you all travel like I do. You have some markets. My hometown's one of them. I'm just keep it in Oklahoma. I go to Oklahoma City, and I grew up in Edmond, and the infrastructure is horrible. Traffic, 2-lane streets, major arteries. You come here, and we've done a pretty good job, better in some parts of our region, of staying somewhat ahead from an infrastructure standpoint to support growth. So I think, I'm trying to answer your question with specifics, but I am a diplomat. I think you can look at a lot of places in our region. Liberty, you know, some of the rural areas. I can go on downtown. And it's really important that we have a vibrant downtown. And there are challenges. I said this last year, I remember saying it, you know, I am accused of being a sunshine pumper. It comes with the job. But I'm also going to tell you that we certainly have challenges across our region. Infrastructure might be, and this, that, and the other. But I would say the beauty of what you can do is you have a lot of choice. And the infrastructure, by and large, the communities, the city government leadership here, everybody wants to throw, you know, some, stones at political leadership and communities and this, that, and the other, and, tax appraisals and this, that. We are really blessed, and you all know that, with our communities here and what infrastructure is in place, because it is not the norm for a lot of places in the country. Hopefully I answered that, didn't I?
We probably have time for one more, Tim.
Just one more?
Yeah, one or two.
I thought you told me like 2 hours.
Ah.
Kidding. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry. With the Panasonic, with demand for electric cars not being what it has been in the past, are you still seeing the same number of jobs that's going to be created there?
Great question. I alluded to it a little bit before. They're not going to be at 4,000 on the time frame that they had originally intended because the market's changed. But the beauty of this, of having what I was trying to emphasize earlier, because it's Panasonic, they're gonna be able to ride it out. And there is now the dip with EVs. A lot of the support from the federal government, you know, is gone. And so up and down, they know that. But they're at 1,100 jobs now. They're still hiring. They've had to pivot from just making electric vehicle batteries to batteries for data centers and this, that, and the other, generators. So they're doing all that. They are actively engaged with the community, with my group. I was just out there talking to their people the other day. So it's going to be a little slower, but they're there. As opposed to one of these startups in that space, they might already be gone. They're gonna be able to ride it out. You have a follow-up?
Real quick, are all these data centers going in, are they good for our economy because there's a lack of permanent jobs? Overall,
That's
are
a
they
great
good for
question.
us?
I'm glad you brought it up. I believe that data centers are. Now, do you want a data center every place that you can put a data center? No, of course not. But we need data centers. Our economy is going through this major transition right now. And you want to have that access to what's going to be created through those data centers. And when you think about the jobs, they don't count, again, don't quote me on this, they don't count all the jobs that are going to be there. You're going to have a significant number of, say, temporary construction jobs, and by definition, it is temporary. But temporary for them is over a long period of time because they're going to continue growing and growing. The data center by Nebius, the big AI data center that was just announced, approved Monday night, I think it was, in Independence, multi-billions of dollars that they're planning to invest there. And it's a closed loop system in terms of using the water. They just circulate it, recirculate it. I give a lot of credit, you may know this already, but Evergy was able to go out and basically get commitments from the data center providers to pay a special heavy load tariff, a data center rate. So in effect, the data centers are paying for the infrastructure that is needs to be improved upon for them. They're paying for it. It's not going to impact us. And eventually, because you've added all that infrastructure, it will impact our rates lower over time. And the fact that we have Google and Meta and some of these big brands here, that's good. And we've been going after data centers since 2008 or 9. We got them early. And a lot of markets now can't secure those. And yes, I do think it's good. Anything else, Jen? Is that it for me? I got the hook?
I don't want to give you the hook, but anybody have a quick one? One more?
Yes, sir. I was hoping you'd ask me a question.
So the
Quick, Peter.
The park above I-70, I
Yeah.
know it was originally passed, then repassed, went up about $100 million, and they're having trouble raising that money. Does that look like that will happen?
You know, you probably know about as much about that as I do. It will happen. It's not going to happen. Initially, they were wanting to get it done by the summer. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But I've heard some whispers that there are those in the private sector that are thinking about stepping up at the appropriate time. But before the private sector steps up for something like that, it's a public advantage, then they need the public sector to make sure they need that insurance that they are going to follow through with their commitment. So yes, I think in time it's going to be cool. What he's talking about is the lid over 670 downtown, which will bridge the crossroads into the financial district. It's similar to one they have down in Dallas. It's been there for a while, and it'll be great eventually. Thank you for asking that.
Last one, Tim.
Last one. Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question. I have some colleagues and some friends, and they're in the J.E. Duns, the Flynn Constructions, the companies that are building all these infrastructure projects, and their constant concern is a lack of trades and the transient nature, and how do we continue to bring that effort in, whether union or ununion? What are we doing to try and encourage those individuals to find us as well as the high-paying, they're all high-paying jobs, but
Yeah.
on the trade side?
Great question. So when you think about that, and when I was going through college a long time ago, And then I've had 4 kids with my friend out there, Mike knows Sarah well. Our 4 kids, we didn't encourage, my wife didn't really encourage our kids to get into the trades or to get into something that you're really working with your hands. And that's changing a lot. So you've got, a lot of these pre-vocation opportunities that you're created a lot of pathways in our market to get people from young people at high school, as they go into high school, to these academies. You think about Blue Valley Caps and Lee Summit, there's all these different pathways that they can get into. We need the unions. You talk about the unions with their apprenticeship programs. I was in a meeting probably a month ago with a lot of the heads of the unions in town talking about that. They're ramping up their apprenticeship programs. So it's not one pathway, it's multiple pathways that we've got to do a better job of providing those options and opportunities to kids right when they come, when they get into high school. And we are doing a better job of that. It's just not in Kansas City, but across our country. And it's a challenge, I wouldn't say a problem, but it's a good challenge to have because we have all this work. You think about data centers and construction, it's like your phone. They have to switch out those servers every 3 years by phone. I mean, how often are you, like me, having to swap out your phone? Like every 2 or 3 years, you have to get a new phone. That's what they have to do with that equipment. So you have construction and they're adding. Is there a bubble with it? We'll see, but this whole AI, which we're really getting into, it's like a layer cake, and we're just scratching the surface. That's why all this money is being invested. Because the smart money, the sharks are really, they see it. But good question. Hopefully that addressed it. I really appreciate your time. And let me just say this, I appreciate what you do. Again, I mean this. And this summer is a great example. Be you, do you, be Kansas City. When you see somebody like I was in Qatar, and is kind of looking around, maybe a little, where am I going? Approach them and make that connection. And we are in a tremendous time to be in Kansas City, to be doing what we're doing. Sure, we have ups and downs, national macro issues. This is a great place to be. So thank you very much for that.
Tim is such a big part about why Kansas City is so great. And he's a super busy guy, so we're so grateful to have you here. Give him one more round of applause. Okay, our last speaker, Jennifer Vick. We're super excited to have her. She's got over 17 years of experience in the real estate industry, bringing a wealth of knowledge through experience and genuine passion for helping people. She was a teacher for many years before she started in real estate, so loves to educate, has a very client-focused approach in coaching, and her second business is teaching professionals a succession plan. I think in our business we talk so much about AI and social media, and while I think those things are important, nobody really talks about what you do when you build this great business. What are you supposed to do? What if you don't have kids that want to take it over? I think this is such a unique approach. I'm so excited to have her here sharing on this topic. If you guys would give her a big welcome, I would really appreciate it.
Let's get set up real quick. Don't you love a dress with pockets? So I am so excited to be here. You guys have been sitting for 2 hours, so I'm used to being last. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you jazzed up. So I need everybody to stand up real quick. Do a real quick stretch. Do whatever you need to do. I want you to look to the person to the left of you and the right of you. Give them a high five. Repeat after me, looking at somebody. Say, "You got this. You're doing great." All right, are we awake? Okay, all right. So, I'm going to gonna try to condense this to about an hour. We can do this. I encourage you to take notes. You can take pictures of slides. There's lots of information, and you'll probably have questions after, so I will have a QR code that you'll have my information, and you can call me, email, maybe text me, ask me, whatever you want. So I'm going to be talking about succession planning, building a legacy for yourself, whether you are thinking of exiting the business or maybe you want to grow your business. So let's learn a little about me to start with. So I'm Jennifer Vick. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is the first time I've ever been in Kansas City. I had no idea I was in Missouri yesterday, and today I'm in Kansas. So I'm learning my geography. I was born in the Carolinas, in Greenville, South Carolina. And so you're going to start to hear this twang come through as I continue to speak. I am a wife, married for 20 years, and I have 2 teenage daughters, so bless me. They are 15 and 17. One is headed off to college next year, still trying to figure out where. And I have 2 fur babies, which I love them maybe the most, I don't know. I'm a former elementary school teacher. I taught 2nd grade for 7 years, and then when we started our family, I thought, how am I gonna pay for daycare on a teacher's salary? So that's when I got into real estate, almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago. And I've been in real estate since 2007. Slowly building my business. 2007, if any of you were in the business back then, you know it was not an easy market to get into. So I started doing a lot of property management and selling townhomes and condos because those were affordable and people were buying those, a lot of first-time home buyers. So over the time I built my business, built a team, and I now have a team of 4 agents, myself, a full-time admin that's been with me for about 10 years, and a transaction coordinator and a part-time marketing person. So we're a well-oiled machine. And the reason I had to build this team is because of acquiring other agents' businesses when it was time for them to retire or to move out of the Charlotte area. So that has turned me into a business coach. So I am a real estate agent, team owner, and I also coach agents how to merge their business into another agent's business, or if they're leaving the business or starting to ponder that thought, what are the steps we need to take to get ready? So we're going to start with a little bit of story time because, you know, I'm a teacher, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of background. So about 8 years ago, I was at a convention, a real estate convention, and a lady from my office had asked if I wanted to room with her, because, you know, I'm trying to save money, so you room with people. And we spent that whole week kind of hanging out, going to classes, events with each other, late nights talking, catching up on work, talking about transactions. Really, it was a nice time, got to know her a lot better. And when we got back to Charlotte, she said to me, I'm moving. And you didn't know this, but I've been interviewing agents to take over my business. And after this week with you, I want you to be the one to take over my business. So I had no idea that all these parties and things were actually an interview. So we started this process of how were we going to move our businesses together. She was moving to Charleston, South Carolina, and was going to start her business back there. Her husband was getting relocated. So we spent months going through her book of business. We talked about, what does a buyer consultation look like? What does a listing consultation look like? I went with her on these appointments, and she went with me on appointments. I met some of her key players, clients that she had worked with for many years, repeat clients. And CRM then was not as sharp as our CRMs are now. We used a file folder system. We would meet in a restaurant or office with stacks of file folders with all the information about the clients, like what pets did they have, what was that transaction like, are they married, do they have grandchildren, all those things. So I kept it all in my head, took lots of notes, and then put it into a CRM, obviously. So that happened successfully. About 5-6 months later, she ended up moving to Charleston, and we continued to work through her clients to really make that really strong handoff, right? So after that, I heard of another agent in my office who was completely getting out of the business, and he was gonna move to the mountains and open a specialty food shop. So he was a very, very well-liked agent in our region, had been in the business for probably 25, 30 years. So I approached him and said, hey, I've already done this, I've got a system, it's working really well. I'd really love to talk to you about how we did this. He was already thinking about somebody else, and believe it or not, the person he was thinking about to take over his business was a police officer full-time and a real estate agent part-time. So tell me how he was gonna do that, right? So I'm glad I caught him and talked to him, and we did the same thing. Really got to know his clients, and I took over his book of business. So then about 2 years later, another agent approached me because she was also moving, getting out of real estate, and moving to Boise, Idaho. So she was getting out of Dodge in less than a month. And so I said, well, we'll do this. We don't have a lot of time to transition and do this, but we'll do it. So she handed me everything she knew about the people, right? But over the time, I kind of realized she didn't really have a tight relationship with a lot of these people. So it's probably the least successful transition I had. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've learned over those acquisitions of other people's businesses, how we handled it, and how we did form those strong relationships. So that's where this all begins. So what is succession planning? It's kind of a new buzzword, I feel like, over the last few years. It's been around forever, right? With corporations, dentists do it, orthodontists do it. When it's time to retire, they find someone to take over their business, right? Insurance agents do it. But a lot of real estate agents say, I'm retiring. If people call me, I'll just find somebody to take care of them. There's a better way to do this. So if we define it, it's really preparing for that transition of ownership or key roles to ensure business continuity and long-term success. You have to have a plan in order for it to be successful. So if we all think, how many of you have been in the business 10 years or more? How many of you have been in the business 5 to 10 years? Any newbies, like 1 to 3? Okay. It's not easy getting started, right? And when we think about it, we kind of get this momentum going. We've got all these past clients that continue to send us repeat business, referrals, but that takes time, right? So if you work so hard to build a real estate business, an amazing real estate business that has done well for you over the years, once you leave, there's a lot of agents. What do you guys have, like 13,000 agents in your region? That's about what we have in the Carolinas. So there are lots of real estate agents around, right? And once you're gone, somebody else could take over your business, right? So why not be the one to choose who does that, right? You get the say in who's going to take over your business and love the people just like you've loved them. So what happens if you had to move all of a sudden? Maybe you had a relocation in your family, or you got sick, or it was just time to retire. You have some options here. You could rely on a team member or a partner to take on your business. You could sell your business at a flat price. That's a tough one to do because in real estate, how do you put a value on a real estate business, right? Everything changes year to year, and we don't always have the control over that. And I think we all know from year to year, some of us have consistent business every year. I know last year was a little bit harder for us because we were a little slower in our region. So it's hard to do a flat price. You've got to hire a professional to do that if you're going to hire or sell it at a flat price. I'm talking to someone right now that he had his business valued at around $3 million. What other real estate agent has $3 million that they can just hand to someone, right? So you'd end up having to do some sort of small loan or private loan to do something like that. So I'm not going to highly recommend selling it for a flat price, but that could be an option. You could gradually exit the business over a number of years. Just kind of take your time transitioning as you think about who might help you with that process. Or you could transition your business quickly, fairly quickly, to another agent or team and collect referral fees. All these options, except for the flat price, would be a referral fee-based transition. So those are all options of ways that you could do this. But to do it successfully, one thing is key, and it's really the key thing in our business, is relationships, right? We are in a relationship business. So in order to do well in succession planning, and in order to do well in your business, you have to keep relationships and you have to solidify relationships. So the question I get asked a lot is, what is the value? How does this even work when you're going to move out of the business, sell your business, or if you're going to be someone who's growing your business and you want to take on someone else's as an adopting agent, what does that look like for you? So the value is you get ongoing referrals as the exiting agent or the adopting agent. You can get indirect income. And by that I mean, like, if the agent is farming a neighborhood, sometimes that can be an indirect income just from that name going through and continuing. Indirect income can also be just from marketing or from your signs out in the yard. Adopted client referrals, that's those adopted clients that you brought into your business who are now sending more referrals. And so those referrals can go to that retiring agent and to the new agent, making the money from doing the work. Agent referrals, not only when you adopt another agent's business, you're not just adopting their clients, you're adopting the agents that they have worked with or their referral agents. That's another key relationship, or these relationships you have with other agents. And their vendors. I think it's really cool to be able to take on another agent's set of vendors, trusted vendors they've worked with for years and years. And you would hope that your vendors are going to give you referrals too. So that's all a benefit of doing a great succession plan, that you can continue having all of these pieces of business come to you. All right, compensation. How does this work? This is a nice math calculation. Math is never my favorite. English and literature were, but so here's a nice formula for you. What you need to know in order to figure out how you're going to get paid as a retiring agent or as an acquiring agent is you need to know how many clients you have in your CRM. And when I say clients, these are people that if you see the name, you can remember the face. You've actually talked to them, you've worked with them. That lead that you never met with is probably not going to count as a quality client than when you're calculating these numbers. So how many clients do you have in your CRM? How many, or what's your percentage of repeat and referral business? You guys should know that number year over year, how many people usually come through that you have closings with that are repeat clients or have been referred to you. And if you don't know that, then you can start tracking it now. So your formula is you take the number of clients, you multiply it times that percentage of repeat and referral clients, and that gives you your number of repeat and referral clients. Then we're going to take that and we're going to divide it by the median years that people move. That's something you could probably chat GPT for your region. Like our region is really probably 7 to 10 years now that people move. So you're going to kind of think about what that number is for the people that you work with. That's going to be kind of what your estimate of closings per year would be with that group of people. So the number of closings times your average commission, there's what you're making. So let's see this in a real life calculation. Let's say you have a book of business of 200 real clients, people you've met, people you've worked with, people who've sent you referrals. And let's say 75% of those are repeat and referral clients. That's 150 repeat and referral clients in your database. If they move approximately every 10 years, then you're looking at probably 15 transactions per year. So once again, you kind of got to know your numbers so that you can calculate this and really think through, what does this look like for your business so you can plan accordingly. All right, so let's look at how you could forecast the compensation if you did a successful succession plan. If your average commission is, say, $15,000 on a sale, and you had 15 closings at $15,000, that's $225,000 per year gross. Now, we know you've got splits and all the other things that you're gonna take off, but let's talk about what your gross. And let's say that you're gonna do a referral plan as a retiring agent or an acquiring agent. And that first year, the agent actually working the business is gonna keep 70%, the retiring agent's gonna get 30%. Now, this is just an example. It's all flexible on what you would want to do for your splits, right? How you want to do that. I personally did them all a little different, but 35% was a fair start, and then we just kind of went down 5% each year. So first year, 70-30. Second year, 75%, 25% referral. And third year, 80%, 20%. So if we look at that, $225,000 at a 70-30 split, that's $157,500 to that agent who acquired the business. That's money they would have never had they not solidified these relationships and really helped someone continue their business. And for that retiring agent who's not really having to do any of the work, they're just making the connection, answering a call here or there, they're gonna make $67,500 just in that first year. And then it just keeps going. So like I said, the splits can be whatever you want them to be. That's the conversation you have between the two agents. And it can be as long as you want it to be. If I had done it again as a retiring or exiting agent, I'd probably do it 5 years or more. Or I'd have a certain number of money I want to make, and we just continue it till I could recoup that or make it back. Now remember that the adopting agent, the one that is taking in that new book of business, they're taking on all the expenses too. So they've got to be prepared to do that. Does that all make sense? Because math is fun. So my focus for you guys today is I'm going to give you 4 things that you can focus on so that you can do something like this successfully. Building extra income for yourself if you're not ready to get out of the business but you feel like you can take on more. Or if it's time for you to slowly ease your way out or fairly quickly ease your way out, this is a great way that you can continue making money and also know that your clients are being taken care of. So, first thing I want you guys to do, this would be your homework, is you need to do some self-assessment. Meaning, why me? If you were the one that you are hoping to grow your business by helping someone who is getting out of the business, why did they choose you? What are the things that make you special? How do you care for your clients? What do they say about you? So think about that. Think about what your business sources are. Both sets, whether you're exiting the business or whether you're currently in the business and plan to stay for years to come, where does your business come from? Also, what are your connection builders? And I just saw I did not capitalize that, so sorry about that. Who are your connection builders? How do you build connections with others? Think about that. Are you a pick up the phone type of person? Do you like to go to networking events? Are you always out and about with your sphere of influence? Do you pick up clients at your kids' soccer games? Where do you get your business and how do you build those connections? What's your geographic coverage? Do you only serve one particular county, a few neighborhoods? Is there an extra area you'd really like to get into that maybe you know an agent that works there that you could partner together and slowly start to take on that business? Know your percentage of closings from repeat and referral clients. Those are your gold, right? They are the people who already know, like, and trust you. So they're the ones that are going to continue to trust you. And if you are exiting the business and you can really hand that baton over and tell others how much you trust that person you handpicked, those are the ones you really want to make sure you're communicating that with because they will continue to work with that person. What's your average price point? You kind of need to know that, right? What average price point do you have? And is there a price point that you'd like to get into? As a retiring agent, you need to have that, know that, because that's what you need to share with the agent who will be taking on the business so that we can kind of forecast what that income is going to look like. What's your average commission per sale? And then last, what are your average sales per year? I'd probably go back at least 5 years, thinking about your average every year, because there's always gonna be one year that might have been a little off, but you want to be able to see, did it slowly go up, is it going down? And those are things you'll want to share with each other when you have that discussion, when you're trying to think of who you're gonna partner with. It's full clarity, and it's really good to know these things, because you need to know them for your business anyway, right? All right, so the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna continue to cultivate relationships. I think in the pandemic, we kind of got into this little piece where we were behind our computer a lot, right? And we weren't out and about with people anymore. And so we've really moved more towards that. People don't read their emails as much as they used to, and people don't like to pick up the phone. So you gotta figure out how you're gonna cultivate those relationships with others. And I'd say focus on these three: with other agents, agents you work with in your market. Strengthen those relationships. It doesn't have to be just people in your brokerage that you might want to merge your business with. Maybe it's somebody in another brokerage that you really admires their business. One thing that I have done that I think pays off is just think about people you've enjoyed working with, or even maybe there's agents in your office that you haven't seen around as much, things like that. Invite them to coffee and just ask how business is going. You're not, as an acquiring agent, you're not gonna be like, I'm looking to buy a book of business. Do it from a heart of helping, right? Because for many of us that are looking to retire or exit the business, it may not be in a year's time. It could be 5 or 10 years' time, and we're trying to plan that ahead. So if you can cultivate these relationships with other agents, and as a retirement agent, keep your eye out for who's doing well in the business, who's really great to work with. Have lunch or coffee with them. Get to know them better. Kind of keep your notes of who you really like, respect, and who you can see working with your clients down the road. Cultivate your relationships with your clients, right? And that has to be strategic how you do it. It can't be haphazard. So be thinking about how you can strengthen all of these relationships with clients you've worked with, whether it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. How can you bring them back into your circle and let them know that you still remember them and care for them? And then last, your sphere of influence, right? All the people you know that you have fun with, that you see from time to time, continue to cultivate that. So you're going to be selling houses, marketing, and cultivating relationships too. And you can do all that. It'll fit into your schedule. All right, so next you're going to get your house in order. And what I mean by this is your database or your CRM. Raise your hand if you religiously keep everyone in a database or CRM that your company provides or that you pay for. Okay, that's a good number of hands. If you don't, you need to. Even if it's a spreadsheet. That was the way I did it way back when. I had a spreadsheet, right? Or you've got your list of contacts in your phone. You need to dump those somewhere so they stay organized. What you want to do with that is make sure that you have those people grouped. Who are past clients? Who are current clients? Who are your core advocates? I like to group them A, B, C. A means I really like them. I loved working with them. I could have them over at my house. I could pick up the phone and talk to them very easily. I like to drop things off for them. I see them out and about. Your A's are your favorites, right? That's going to be a fairly small group. It's not going to be your biggest group. When I first started sorting like that, everybody was an A because I loved everybody. But you don't want that to be so big. You want it to be your special people. Your B's are going to be the people that you've worked with that you liked. They were great to work with. They might send you referrals from time to time. You stay in touch with them. That's going to be probably your biggest group, or your B's. And your C's are going to be like, when that name comes up, I can't picture their face. I met them at an open house and threw them into my contacts. They were a Zillow lead or a lead from another website. I threw them into my contacts. So those are people who probably are never answering the phone to you. They never respond to your emails. But you might have them on an auto drip campaign. You're sending them newsletters every month, things like that. Those are your C's. So that to me is your easiest thing you can do with your CRM or your database or your spreadsheet. Label your clients A, B, C. Your Spear's in there too, so you would label those. You're also going to want to make sure that you put as much information as you can. Whether you're planning on being in the business 10, 15, 30 more years, start doing that now. What are their birthdays? What's their anniversary? What are their pets' names? Where do they work? Do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Where did they come from? What alumni association do they love? As much as you can get is helpful. That's for you for the long term. For those who are thinking of getting out of the business, that's going to help that agent solidify those relationships even more. And what happened with me is having all those notes, I could pick up the phone and call someone that maybe I hadn't met in person, and all I had to say is, how's Joey doing at college? I heard he's in his freshman year. Everything going well? And they would just, their guard goes down. I don't know, how's she know he's in college, right? So those little tiny things that you know are things that will help you kind of send a little thinking of you type gift or, phone call, text, all of that. So having as much information in there as you can. That's super important. It takes some time, but if you break it down, maybe by letters of the alphabet or years people closed, that would be a good technique to try to do that. Next, you want to think about your systems and processes. When I talk to agents who are thinking of merging their businesses together, a lot of times the first thing I'll ask them to do is a brain dump. Think about how you handle when a lead comes in or you get a referral. What's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step? You probably have some sort of action plan. It could be in your head. It could already be systematized. But you want to know what that system looks like, because the agent who's going to be acquiring your business, you want it to be very, very similar. And you want to follow those systems because those clients are expecting that. That continuity is going to help immensely. So know what your systems and processes are. If you don't have some sort of operations manual or Google Docs or whatever it is that you have all that in there, it's a good way to get that done. Hire a summer intern and they can help you put that together. You can do all the talking, they can do all the typing, something like that. And then last is you have to know your numbers. Make sure you're doing some sort of P&L, profit and loss statement every month. How much you're bringing in, how much are you spending? Because if you're taking on someone's business, you need to know you can afford to market to this whole new set of clients, right? That's going to be a big piece of your budget. You may have to hire an admin to help you. Do you have the money to do that? So if you know your numbers, then you can easily figure that out. As an agent who's exiting the business, that agent who's going to want to take on your business needs to know what your numbers look like. If you're spending a lot of money on a magazine you send out, they have to know, can I afford to do that, or am I going to have to stop doing that? If you're a really big event planner and you do a lot of events for your clients, we need to know what that cost is, right? And how it gets paid for, because that has to be something that's discussed and planned for so that we're all making a profit. All right, so next is you're going to build and monitor your marketing plan. How many of you make a marketing plan every year? How you're going to market to your clients? Do you do it in October, November, December, or do you do it at the beginning of the year? I'd say start October, November, thinking about what's worked well the year before, moving into the next year. You want to make an annual marketing plan, and I have some tips for that. But that needs to be part of that agreement when you merge two businesses together. The retiring agent needs to understand how are you going to be marketing to their clients and what is their expectation on that. You're going to need to vary your communication. You need to understand how do your clients like to be communicated with. Is it email marketing? Is it phone calls periodically? Do they like to have face-to-face meetings? Maybe you take a group out for coffee or lunch every week, or a couple of people every week. Those types of things on how you can vary that communication. Some people don't ever want to pick up the phone, so you're just going to text them or private message them on social media. However you can connect and cultivate relationships, that's what you're going to do for your communication. And then you need to keep track of your spending and your return on investment. Tracking return on investment, I think, is sometimes a little harder than we think, because sometimes you don't know where a specific client came from. If you send out 1,000 postcards, sometimes it's hard to know what that return on investment is. But it's what you need to really keep track of is how much you're spending, and is anything coming from it, so you know what to dump and what to continue doing. So I want you guys to think of marketing as an investment, not an expense. And it took me a long time to figure that out because I'm very frugal. I wanted to make a profit, right? So I was always like, oh, I don't want to spend money on that, or no, we're not going to spend money on that. But I think if we think of it as an investment to keep our business ongoing, it does make sense. And you do need to have some sort of budget for your marketing. This is what I recommend for your core principle on a marketing expense. Allocate about 8 to 10% of your gross commission income to marketing to your clients. And so that can incorporate also marketing your listings, things like that, right? But this would be things like taking people to dinner, hosting events, mailers, giveaways, anything you can do to bring community together. That's what you want to spend. So you need to keep track of what your commission is, and usually 8 to 10% is what you want to spend per year on that. All right, so this is how I keep track of a marketing calendar. Now remember, I have a team, and all I did was make a Google Sheet. And the Google Sheet, I have all the types of communication going down the left column, and then across the top, it's January through December. And we brainstorm in our planning, what do we want to do this year? So here's some examples. In January, and actually every month, we just do a monthly newsletter. It goes out the first of the month to all of our clients. A's, B's, C's, everybody. Then we might have a client event. January is a tough month to do a client event. We all start at 0 in January, so I don't want to spend money. But in February, we like to do an event called Dinner on Us. That's for Valentine's Day. So usually a few days before Valentine's Day, we partner with one of our lenders in Charlotte. We do like a take and bake type dinner. We've had Italian dinners. We did a butcher shop this year, and they package everything for us. It's about $30 for a meal for two. We throw a bottle of wine in there, some chocolates. I have an agent on my team who's a wonderful baker. She made these beautiful heart-shaped cookies this year, and we put those in there. We cap it out to probably 70, 75 clients that come through and pick up these meals at our office. We give them 2 to 3 hours to do it, send an invitation out weeks ahead of time. They have to fill out a Google form, tell us what they want. There's a few choices that they can pick. And it's really just a nice event. They all take pictures of their meal and send it to us afterwards. I actually had a text message this morning, somebody asking for someone to help with the bathroom renovation. Her last sentence was like, and thank you again for that wonderful meal. What a special Valentine's treat. Just a nice thing to do, right? It's a good way to get your face out there, talking to people. And honestly, when you do an event like this, you're sending an invitation. You're calling them to make sure they got the invitation. You're texting them to remind them to come to the event. You see them at the event. You thank them afterwards for coming to the event. If they didn't come to the event, now you're going to text, call, email, and say, I missed you, or we didn't hear from you this year. So think about all those touches just from one event. It's super easy. So I do have a playbook for this, and I am happy to share this calendar as well as some of the playbooks. I'll explain what that is in a minute. I'm going to give you my contact info. If I went through this whole thing, you'd be here for 3 hours. So, but I did want to share, if you look through January, those are all the things that we are doing to touch our clients as a team. You have to kind of vary it and make sure your busy months are not too busy with all the marketing too. And some of it is a little bit strategic. You kind of hype it up before a busy season so people remember you. So we do very heavy first half of the year and then after summer. Nobody ever responds in summer, so I was on vacation. So some of these are very interactive and some of these are very passive. You're varying your communication. So a playbook. This goes back to your systems and processes. It's a Google Doc. For every event or activity that's done for your clients or within your business, just create a playbook. How do you do it? Keep it in a file in your Google Drive, in a notebook, however you want to do it, with the system of that plan or that activity. And so for this, the Dinner on Us playbook, 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time, we have all the things that need to be done. As an agent who is exiting your business, this is gold to give to an agent that is taking on the business. It tells them exactly how you've done things in the past. They may want to do some tweaks to it to make it feel a little different, maybe to even improve it. But having this, it's rinse and repeat every year with a few little tweaks. After each event, what my team always does is on our next meeting, we'll kind of have a recap on the event, talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and we type that at the bottom. So then at the next year, we'll know and we'll remember, because we're too busy to have all that in our head, right? So I'm happy to share this with you guys too, and I have a playbook for about any idea that we've done. As someone who's looking to take on someone's business, if you can show an agent who's exiting, I've got all these playbooks of all these things we do for our clients. I have a marketing plan that's in great detail. Don't you think they're going to feel pretty confident about handing you their book of business? You would be the winner in that. You want to look like you're organized and you want to feel organized so that you can take on 200 to 1,000 more clients. All right, so when we think about how our marketing plan relates to succession planning, if you don't have a marketing plan, it's inconsistent outreach. You're just doing it when you're driving by and you see somebody's neighborhood, and you don't always remember all those people that are in your CRM if you're doing it inconsistently. Marketing will pause when your business is busy. We all know how that roller coaster goes, that you get busy, you don't have time to make all these phone calls, take people out to coffee and things like that. So if you have a plan, then it's consistent, right? It's already there, you've got the date set on when you're going to do something, and you know it's going to happen. So also, relationships rely on memory if you don't have a plan. I don't know about you, but as I'm nearing my 50s, I've got major brain fog, and there are things that I don't remember like I used to. But if I have a calendar that tells me what I need to be doing or who I need to be talking to, then there is no inconsistency for that. So with a calendar, it's always going to be predictable, and it's going to be something that you're doing on a monthly basis, however you want to do it. If you have people helping you, they know what to expect. Your budget's protected because you have a good estimate of what you're going to be spending throughout the year, and your clients feel remembered, not marketed to. We don't want anyone to ever feel like we're just marketing to them, right? We want them to feel like we're remembering them, we're treating them, and we're grateful for letting us help them over the years. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the frequently asked questions I get when people are thinking about selling their book of business or acquiring a book of business. How long would it take? My recommendation is if you are going to merge your business with someone else, I would say no less than 6 months of planning ahead of time. If you have more time than that, good. Because think of all these things I just told you needed to do. Organizing your CRM, tagging people, creating a marketing plan, create playbooks, create your systems and processes. You need to have time to do that to get to know the other person's all the things, right? So 6 months or more to get things laid out and planned. A lot of times a retiring agent may decide they want to go ahead and join forces and go ahead and start that process of working together, and then they ease their way out over time. What if there's a team or administrative support that's involved? So retiring agent has a team and has a full-time admin. What happens to those people? Well, in my first and second acquisition, I ended up bringing people on. And actually, one of the agents that I brought in or adopted into my team is still with me. So that's 8 years later, we're still working together. She's one of our top agents on the team. I did bring on another admin, so then I had 2 admin, but I had to figure out, can I pay or can I afford to do that? And after a year's time, we realized we didn't need that much help, so she went off and started working with somebody else, another team that we kind of put that together. So sure, you can take on other agents, you can take on other admin, but the budget has to support it and the business needs to support it. Is there enough business for all these team members to be working, and are they also bringing in new business? How long should an exiting agent stay involved? I would say a year minimum. So once that acquisition or merger happens, a good year after, that exiting agent should just somewhat be active in the plan. We've always done quarterly calls, and a lot of those calls are to invite people to events or to tell people some news or some sort of special we got from, say, a gutter cleaner, window washer, or things like that. But those agents, especially Lynn, who was the first person I merged businesses with, she did those quarterly calls with us too that first year. So she was calling people as well. If you get these calls in as the retiring agent, if you're already traveling and say you're on a cruise ship, are you going to be able to answer calls? Because your clients will likely still be calling you from time to time. And after that first year, it'll probably transition and they won't be calling you as much because they'll now know that that person who's taken over the business will be the one to answer. But I'd say a year. A year is good to stay within, and it could be longer. It's really what the two of you agree on. How can I best stay connected with the database? I think a lot of face-to-face in the beginning. That's why parties, events, meetups carry the best. They want to see your face. They want to see how you work in order to trust you as the new person that they'll be, needing to work with down the road. So a lot of these meetups are well worth it. It's time consuming, and that's why I don't try to do an acquisition every year, because I don't think I can handle it, right? So making sure that you've got the time to schedule these coffees, lunches, parties are great because you have to have a lot of people that you get to see at one time. But not only that, it's picking up the phone and calling, it's texting, it's doing some email and private messaging. I friend almost everybody on Facebook until I run out of opportunity to have friends on Facebook. But that's a great way to just be like, happy birthday, or you see that maybe they got a new pet, or they lost a pet, or something like that. Then you can take that time to reach out. It's a good reminder. Facebook to me works a little bit better for those connections than Instagram in some cases, but however you can follow people will help you. What if there are geographic farms involved? So I have taken on 3 other farms from other agents, and I did not live in those neighborhoods, but they had lived in that neighborhood, or they had sold a lot in that neighborhood. So we just carried that farm through, making sure that we had the budget to continue to market to those neighborhoods. And it's been great. One of them I ended up buying an investment property in, so now I can say I do have a home in that neighborhood. But it's just a great way to have extra business, and those have actually continued to be a profitable activity in our marketing. And what should the agreement look like? That is the big question I get. So you have to have a written agreement. Just like if you have team members, you want to have a written agreement of what the expectations are, right? An agreement needs to be reviewed by an attorney because we're talking about exchange of money. If you're accepting referral fees as the retiring agent, you probably have to have your license hung. That changes for every, realtor association on what's required. But as far as I know, to accept a referral fee, you gotta have your license hung somewhere. So you've got to plan for that. That agreement needs to have that marketing plan included, what the expectations are, how long it's gonna happen, what counts as a referral. These are all things that I can help people work through when you get to that process. But you want to make sure you have it in writing, that you spend a good amount of time talking about it with each other, so you both feel like it's a fair agreement. So, as cheesy as it sounds, a good plan is like a roadmap. It shows the final destination, and it's usually the best way to get there. So in order to have a successful succession plan, you gotta have a plan, right? And that's why you need to start doing it ahead of time. So here is my information. If you want to use this QR code, it will let you just add it to your your phone. I'm sure that maybe there will be a follow-up email that we'll put my info into. If you want to be added to my monthly newsletter for agents, I would love to have you on that. Comes out the middle of every month, and all we do is we share a playbook or something we've done to market to our clients that's really made a good connection. So it's always useful information. I probably won't be telling you anything. Did everybody get it? I don't know how to go back. I timed out. I won't be talking about Charlotte real estate or any of that, and I won't send you open house invites. It'll all be good stuff. So if you want to do that, just send me an email and I'll add you to the list. And if you have questions about anything I talked about, I'm happy to help you. I do offer coaching on this. It's we can do weekly consultations. We do them on Google Meets. And a lot of times it's helping you find who that person is that's going to maybe take over your business at some point, or really just thinking through how you can put your marketing plan together so you can solidify relationships now. Do we have time for a couple questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
You seem to be very busy. How many hours a week do you work?
Actually, because I have a team, I have a very manageable schedule. I have 2 teenage daughters, and I would say probably in the beginning of my real estate career, when they don't remember I wasn't as present as I wasn't, I was working all the time. But now I don't really work a lot of weekends. I don't work a lot of evenings. If I am working, it's usually connecting with clients or doing something fun with people so that I can continue to solidify relationships. But because I have a full-time admin and I pay her a good salary, she stayed with me and she takes a lot of that work off my plate. As well as transaction coordinator, I don't have to deal with paperwork either, I just review it. So maybe 40 hours a week or less. Yeah.
So I am a newbie, almost 2 years in, but anyway, I kind of started the same as you, like little ones at home, I want to stay home with them. What is realistic, like where should I really, I've been having trouble starting a CRM and putting it in where, what's my first step there?
I think, so anytime I bring a team member on, I tell them to think of top 100 people that you wouldn't mind talking about real estate with them. You're not going to throw it at them, but you want to talk about, you know, you feel comfortable sending them a newsletter. You think they probably want to work with you as long as they continue to get to know you and trust you. So if you don't have a CRM, just create a spreadsheet. Name, phone number, address, birthday, anything you can collect on them. If you get a CRM or have one with your firm, put everything in there. And then just keep it organized by who they are. You can use that CRM and go by the alphabet to stay in touch with them per month. You know, I'm going to call these people or get in touch with these people this week, these people this week. However you want to do that. But you've got to block your time, right? So the way I did it with my kids, because they were never in daycare full time, they were preschool, you know, kids that only went for like 3 hours mother's morning out, was I pounded getting all that stuff done then, right? And then they came home and took a nap, and then I worked a little bit more. So I was able to get some of that done, and then when my husband got home in the afternoon, I might finish up some things or go out and do showings. So you just figure out what your schedule is so you can be present as a mom, and then also have your business piece too.
Have you had an experience transitioning an agent that maybe didn't work so well? And is there like a minimum volume that you think should be in place for that to make sense?
So my goal for any agent that I bring on, you mean for a team member or acquisition? I think having at least 100 to 200 solid past clients in their book of business. If it's someone who maybe has been in the business and has a great sphere of influence, but maybe the real estate was just not their thing, but they still would love to try to do a referral-based process with you, if they've got a decent sphere of influence, then there's no harm in adding it to your group and figuring out how you're going to stay in touch with them, or knowing that they're going to have to continue singing your praises all along the way. But really no minimum. I think The key is making sure they're well connected with the people they know, and it's not just a list of names that mean nothing. Because if you get a list of names that mean nothing, and they're not gonna do the work to solidify those relationships, then it's not gonna work out. That's why I was saying that third acquisition was probably the hardest one I did, because a lot of her business was like Zillow leads that she had gotten and closed, and then she never stayed in touch with them again. But I didn't know that till after the fact. So those are the types of questions you want to ask too.
I know this process is a little new to our industry or formalized, and it's still in its infancy, but have you identified an earnings transaction number for EBITDA when you're trying to buy someone out? I've researched a lot in insurance. You can find like 5 times earnings, 3 times earnings, 4 times earnings. Are you finding an industry standard, or at least on the East Coast, where it might be a little bit more prevalent, where this is going on, that you're experiencing and you can share with us?
I'm not really, I guess, an advocate, nor do I really understand that 5 times, 4 times, 6 times, whatever. I think it's more understanding how many people are in that database that are important key players, right? And knowing that, how many of those people have been repeat and referral clients over the years is the most important, because that's where you really need to focus on those people. So let's say there's 100, you're not gonna get them all. I mean, there have been many times that I've looked at tax records and like, they moved and I didn't get to help them, right? And I called them all the time. But everybody knows another realtor. So when you think if there's 100, maybe you'll get half of them. It depends how strong that relationship is and how hard you work at it to keep it going. That doesn't really give you the answer on that. That's where a business person, like a business strategist, could do the 4 times, 5 times thing. Yes?
So on the receiving end of the succession plan, how do you delicately market yourself as someone who would like to be considered for that without telling someone, so when are you gonna get out of business? Can I have it? I mean, it's just such a weird dialogue. People stay in real estate a lot longer than they do other careers.
And people don't really always want to retire. They're not open to giving their baby away, right? So it's a delicate conversation. You're coming from contribution. I'll never forget the most cringy thing I saw was a big team in our region. They were putting out ads. You want to retire? I want to buy your business. Well, that's not meaningful. That looks like I just want your money, right? I really wanted more people that I could care for and help and do the things I've done for all my clients too. And knowing that I had a little bit of pressure and the trust from an agent that was leaving the business and kind of had that same mindset made me only want it more. So it's coming from contribution, maybe talking to your sales manager or team leader, anybody that they could identify that might be talking about leaving the business over time. And it could be 5 years down the road. So it's really just getting to know those people, talking about your business, how you do things, and sharing ideas. Because you can learn a lot from experienced agents who have been in the business for 20 or 30 years and made it through some tough times too. So don't go in hungry, I just want your business. Go in curious, I want to be a friend to you. Anybody else?
I have a quick question for Jennifer. So how do you coach people on the technology part, right? Like we all work from our cell phones. Do you suggest that they start a team number or a number that can be transitioned? Same with email, especially if you're merging people from 2 different companies.
Yes. So a Google number works great. We actually, all of our for sale signs have Google numbers on it. So we transition that Google number every week, every month to a new team member that can take those calls and field them. When I did these mergers, I always recommend doing dual marketing for a year. If it's 2 separate teams or 2 separate business names, having both of the names on postcards, mailers, anything you do, a letter that goes out to the clients to let them know what's happening, and putting both of your faces on there for that recognizability or the logo. And it could be both of your phone numbers, but I probably would say just transition it to the phone number of the person who's going to be taking on the business, so all those inquiries, calls, and emails go there. They'll already have the phone number and email saved in their phones, probably of the agent who's exiting the business. But I think if you can kind of put it together like you're partnering, And then slowly, towards the end of that year, that exiting agent would slowly disappear and no one's gonna notice it. It's kind of funny how it works, because I thought, oh gosh, their face is gonna drop off of this and people are gonna wonder what happened to them. But at that point, we had solidified that we were the ones that were now gonna take care of them. So just an edge out, to me, is much easier than a sudden not there anymore. Anybody else? Well, thank y'all for having me. This was great. I hope that you got some good information. And I'm coming back to Kansas City when the sun comes out.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was so helpful. Was that helpful, you guys? Something different than you used to hearing? Okay, awesome. I know we kept you late. I really appreciate everybody who stayed. Andrew's going to get our next event up here in June. Maybe there's a QR code on there if you want to RSVP, but we'll invite you. There'll be another one of our agent panels. If you ever have something you want to hear about, please let us know. We're happy to try to bring people in that would help you grow your business. Or invite your peers to speak if there's anyone you want to hear from. So thank you for coming. We appreciate you supporting us and have a great day.